All musics have a history, and all music changes, has always been changing, though at various rates and not always in the same direction. It would be foolish to assume that the music of India, because it is largely melodic and without harmony, somehow represents an earlier stage through which Western music has already passed, or that Europeans, in the days when they lived in tribes, had music similar to that of Native Americans. Musics do not uniformly change from simple to complex. Each music has its own unique history, related to the history of its culture, to the way people adapt to their natural and social environment. The patterns we may discern in the world's music history usually have to do with the relationships of cultures to one another. Thus, in the 20th century, as Western-derived culture has affected most others, most non-Western musics now show some influences of Western music. However, the results of this influence vary from culture to culture. Archaeology is a mode of production of the past. This would seem to be recognized by those many archaeologists and textbooks that talk at length of archaeological techniques that talk at length of archaeological techniques. Archaeology seen as technology. The past has left remains and they decay in the ground. According to their interest, an archaeologist works on the material remains to make something of them. So excavation is invention, discovery, or sculpture. Sculpture, where archaeologists craft remains of the past into forms which are meaningful. The archaeological record is, accordingly, not a record at all, but made, not given. Data, the past is gone and lost. And fortiori, through the equivocality of things and the character of society as constituted through meaning, never existed as a definitive entity, the present anyway. An archaeologist has a raw material, the remains of the past, and turns it into something, data, a report, set of drawings, a museum exhibition, an archive, a television program, evidence in an academic controversy, and perhaps that which is termed knowledge of the past. This is a mode of production. 고고학은 유의미한 과거를 만들어낸다. Number 3. 신기한 거 봤어? An educational institution that I have been associated with recently went through a particularly traumatic time when the credibility of the administration was questioned by the faculty and staff. Various organizational consultants were interviewed to facilitate a healing process. Most of the consultants spoke of making the necessary structural changes to create a culture of trust. The institution finally hired a consultant whose attitude was that organizational structure has nothing to do with trust. Interpersonal relations based on mutual respect and an atmosphere of goodwill are what creates a culture of trust. Would you rather work as part of a school with outstanding reputation or work as a part of a group of outstanding individuals? Many times these two characteristics go together, but if one had to make a choice, I believe that most people would opt to work with outstanding individuals. We all have been blessed with intellect. It is up to us to develop what we have been given. The true intellectual does not gloat in what she knows, for no one has the capacity to know everything, and only the fool pretends otherwise. Knowledge has no finish line. Instead, as with life, it is merely a perpetual marathon full of potential and pitfalls. Intellect is not to be celebrated, it should be constantly and humbly improved. The more one learns, the more one understands that he or she actually knows very little. Mastering one topic means very little in the sense that an infinite amount of new topics remain alive and waiting to be tackled. There is no better way to travel the journey of life than with a book held greedily in hand. 지식 습득은 끝이 없다.
순금아 언니 쫓아가. 순금이 가자 시야. 가자. 언니 봐봐 순금아. 언니 쫓아가.
Discern. Discern in the world's music history. The patterns we may discern. 식별하다.